Today we are going to tell
you about Thomas Alva Edison. Thomas Alva Edison, February 11, 1847 to October 18, 1931, was an American inventor and businessman who has been described as America's greatest inventor.
Thomas Edison was born in 1847 in Milan, Ohio, and grew up in Port Huron, Michigan. He was the seventh and last child of Samuel Ogden Edison Jr., 1804 to 1896, born in Marshalltown, Nova Scotia, and Nancy Matthews Elliott, 1810 to 1871, born in Chenango County, New York. His father, the son of a Loyalist refugee, had moved as a boy with the family from Nova Scotia, settling in southwestern Ontario, then called Upper Canada, in a village known as Shrewsbury, later Vienna. By 1811, Edison developed hearing problems at an early age. The cause of his deafness has been attributed to a bout of scarlet fever during his childhood and recurring untreated middle ear infections. Around the middle of his career, Edison attributed the hearing impairment to being struck on the ears by a train conductor when his chemical laboratory in a boxcar caught fire and he was thrown off the train in Smiths Creek, Michigan, along with his apparatus and chemicals. In his later years, he modified the story to say the injury occurred when the conductor, in helping him onto a moving train, lifted him by the ears.
On December 25, 1871, at the age of 24, Edison married 16-year-old Mary Stilwell, 1855 to 1884, whom he had met 2 months earlier. She was an employee at one of his shops. They had 3 children: Marion Estelle Edison, Thomas Alva Edison Jr., and William Leslie Edison. Mary Edison died at age 29 on August 9, 1884, of unknown causes, possibly from a brain tumor or a morphine overdose. Doctors frequently prescribed morphine to women in those years to treat a variety of causes, and researchers believe that her symptoms could have been from morphine poisoning.
On February 24th, 1886, at the age of 39, Edison married the 20-year-old Mina Miller, 1865 to 1947, in Akron, Ohio. She was the daughter of the inventor Lewis Miller, co-founder of the Chautauqua Institution and a benefactor of Methodist charities. They also had 3 children together: Madeline Edison, Charles Edison, and Theodore Miller Edison. Mina outlived Thomas Edison, dying on August 24th, 1947.
Edison's family moved to Port Huron, Michigan, after the canal owners successfully kept the railroad out of Milan, Ohio in 1854, and business declined. Edison sold candy and newspapers on trains running from Port Huron to Detroit, and sold vegetables. He became a telegraph operator after he saved 3-year-old Jimmy Mackenzie from being struck by a runaway train. Jimmy's father, station agent J.U. Mackenzie of Mount Clemens, Michigan, was so grateful that he trained Edison as a telegraph operator. Edison's first telegraphy job away from Port Huron was at Stratford Junction, Ontario. On the Grand Trunk Railway, he was held responsible for a near collision. He also studied qualitative analysis and conducted chemical experiments on the train until he left the job. Edison obtained the exclusive right to sell newspapers on the road, and, with the aid of 4 assistants, he set and type printed the Grand Trunk Herald, which he sold with his other papers.
Edison's major innovation was the establishment of an industrial research lab in 1876. It was built in Menlo Park, a part of Railton Township, now named Edison Township, in his honor, in Middlesex County, New Jersey. With the funds from the sale of Edison's quadruplex telegraph after his demonstration of the telegraph, Edison was not sure that his original plan to sell it for $4,000 to $5,000 was right, so he asked Western Union to make a bid. He was surprised to hear him offer $221,400 in today's dollars, which he gratefully accepted. The quadruplex telegraph was Edison's first big financial success, and Menlo Park became the first institution set up with a specific purpose of producing constant technological innovation and improvement. Edison was legally attributed with most of the inventions produced there, though many employees carried out research and development under his direction. His staff was generally told to carry out his directions in conducting research, and he drove them hard to produce results.
With Menlo Park, Edison had created the first industrial laboratory concerned with creating knowledge and then controlling its application. Edison's name is registered on 1,093 patents. Edison began his career as an inventor in Newark, New Jersey, with the automatic repeater and his other improved telegraphic devices. But the invention that first gained him wider notice was the phonograph in 1877. This accomplishment was so unexpected by the public at large as to appear almost magical. Edison became known as the Wizard of Menlo Park, New Jersey. His first phonograph, recorded on tinfoil around a grooved cylinder, despite its limited sound quality and that the recordings could be played only a few times. The phonograph made Edison a celebrity. Joseph Henry, president of the National Academy of Sciences and one of the most renowned electrical scientists in the U.S., described Edison as the most ingenious inventor in this country, or in any other. In April 1878, Edison traveled to Washington to demonstrate the phonograph before the National Academy of Sciences, congressmen, senators, and U.S. President Hayes. The Washington Post described Edison as a genius and his presentation as a scene that will live in history.
In 1878, Edison began working on a system of electrical illumination, something he hoped he could complete with gas and oil-based lighting. He began tackling the problem of creating a long-lasting incandescent lamp, something that would be needed for indoor use. Many earlier inventions had previously devised incandescent lamps using Alessandro Volta's demonstration of a glowing wire in 1800 and inventions by Henry Woodward and Matthew Evans. Edison realized that to connect a series of electrical lights to an economically manageable size and using the necessary thickness of copper wire, he would have to develop a lamp that used a low amount of current. This lamp must have a high resistance and use a relatively low voltage around 110 volts. After many experiments, first with carbon filaments and then with platinum and other metals, Edison returned to a carbon filament. The first successful test was on October 22nd, 1879. It lasted 13.5 hours. Edison continued to improve this design, and on November 4th, 1879, filed for U.S. patent 223,898, granted on January 27, 1880, for an electrical lamp using a carbon filament or strap coiled and connected to platinum contact wires. This was the first commercially practical incandescent light. Main theater in Brno, which is now Czech Republic, opened in 1882 and was the first public building in the world to use Edison's electric lamps. Francis Gell, Edison's assistant, in the invention of the lamp, supervised the installation. In September 2010, a sculpture of 3 giant light bulbs was erected in Brno in front of the theater.
As Edison expanded his direct current DC power delivery system, he received stiff competition from companies installing alternating current AC systems. From the early 1880s, AC arc lighting systems for streets and large spaces had been an expanding business in the U.S. with the development of transformers in Europe and by Westinghouse Electric in the U.S. in 1885 to 1886. It became possible to transmit AC long distances over thinner and cheaper wires and step down the voltage at the destination for distribution to users. This allowed AC to be used in street lighting and in lighting for small business and domestic customers. The market Edison's patented low incandescent lamp system was designed to supply.
Edison is credited with designing and producing the first commercially available fluoroscope, a machine that uses X-rays to take radiographs, until Edison discovered that calcium tungstate fluoroscopy screens produce brighter images than barium martensite screens originally used by Wilhelm Röntgen. The technology was capable of producing only very faint images. The fundamental design of Edison's fluoroscope is still in use today, although Edison abandoned the project after nearly losing his own eyesight and seriously injuring his assistant, Clarence Daly. Daly made himself an enthusiastic human guinea pig for the fluoroscopy project and was exposed to a poisonous dose of radiation. He later died of injuries related to the exposure. In 1903, a shaken Edison said, "Don't talk to me about X-rays. I am afraid of them."
Edison was also granted a patent for the motion picture camera or kinetograph. He did the electromechanical design while his employee, W.K.L. Dixon, a photographer, worked on the photographic and optical development. Much of the credit for the invention belongs to Dixon in 1891. Thomas Edison built a kinetoscope, or peephole viewer. This device was installed in penny arcades where people could watch short, simple films. The kinetograph and kinetoscope were both first publicly exhibited May 20th, 1891. In April 1896, Thomas Armat's Vidoscope, manufactured by the Edison factory and marketed in Edison's name, was used to project motion pictures in public screenings in New York City. Later, he exhibited motion pictures with voice soundtrack on cylinder recording, mechanically synchronized with the film. Officially, the kinetoscope entered Europe when the rich American businessman Irving T. Bush, 1869, bought from the Continental Commerce Company of Frank Z. McGuire and Joseph D. Baucus a dozen machines. Bush placed from October 17, 1894, the first kinetoscopes in London. At the same time, the French company Kinetoscope, Edison, Michael, and Alexis Werner bought these machines for the market in France.
The Edison Storage Battery Company was founded in 1901. With this company, Edison exploited his invention of the accumulator. In 1904, 450 people already worked for the company. The first accumulators were produced for electrical cars, but there were several defects. Several customers complained about the products. The capital of the company was spent. Edison paid for the company with his private money. Edison did not demonstrate a mature product until 1910. A nickel-iron battery with lye as the electrolyte.
Edison invented a highly sensitive device that he named the cosimeter, which measured infrared radiation. His impetus for its creation was the desire to measure the heat from the solar corona during the total solar eclipse of July 29, 1878.
Edison moved from Menlo Park after the death of his first wife, Mary, in 1884, and purchased a home known as Glenmont in 1886 as a wedding gift for his second wife, Mina, in Lilyland Park in West Orange, New Jersey. In 1885, Thomas Edison bought 13 acres of property in Fort Myers, Florida, for roughly $2,750 and built what was later called Seminole Lodge as a winter retreat. Edison and Mina spent many winters at their home in Fort Myers, and Edison tried to find a domestic source of natural rubber due to the security concerns around World War I. Edison suggested forming a science and industry committee to provide advice and research to the U.S. military, and he headed the Naval Consulting Board in 1915.
Henry Ford later lived a few hundred feet away from Edison at his winter retreat in Fort Myers. Ford once worked as an engineer for the Edison Illuminating Company of Detroit and met Edison at a convention of affiliated Edison Illuminating Companies in Brooklyn, New York, in 1896. Edison was impressed with Ford's internal combustion engine automobile and encouraged its development. They were friends until Edison's death. Edison and Ford undertook annual motor camping trips from 1914 to 1924. Harvey Firestone and naturalist John Burroughs also participated in 1928. Edison joined the Fort Myers Civitan Club, believed strongly in the organization, writing that the Civitan Club is doing things, big things, for the community, state, and nation, and I certainly consider it an honor to be numbered in its ranks. He was an active member of the club until his death, sometimes bringing Henry Ford to the club's meetings. Edison was active in business right up to the end. Just months before his death, the Lackawanna Railroad inaugurated suburban electric train service from Hoboken to Montclair, Dover, and Gladstone, New Jersey. Electrical transmission for this service was by means of an overhead catenary system using direct current, which Edison had championed.
Edison died of complications of diabetes on October 18, 1931, in his home, Glenmont, in Little Park, New Jersey, which he had purchased in 1886 as a wedding gift for Mina. Reverend Stephen J. Hurden officiated the funeral. Edison is buried behind the home. Edison's last breath is reportedly contained in the test tube at the Henry Ford Museum near Detroit. Ford reportedly convinced Charles Edison to seal a test tube of air in the inventor's room shortly after his death as a memento. A plaster death mask and casts of Edison's hands were also made.
Thank you for watching
This Adventurous Kids episode.